Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Identiverse. I am Tom Sheffield, Senior Director of Cybersecurity at Target, and I lead our Identity and Access Management program. I'm excited to be back this year at Identiverse. I forget how many years it is, but I'm really excited to tell this story because it's one we've been planning for a while at Target, and this is kind of our first chance to get to tell it outside. I have two goals for my session today. First, I'm here to inspire you, and I recognize right away the premise may not be for everybody, but I'm here to show that you can unlock some really powerful outcomes if you're able to do this. And my second goal is not to get booed off the expo floor after my session today. So as I get started, I expect that most of the audience is familiar with Target. What you may not realize is that there are over 4,000 engineers, data scientists, and product managers who design and build and support the technology used across our HQ locations and by our stores, our distribution centers, and Target.com to fulfill Target's purpose of helping all families discover the joy of everyday life. Now at Target, we feel like our technology is an enabler, and our ability to respond to our business is a differentiator. And that's why we've invested heavily in a talented and passionate team, a culture anchored in agile DevOps, and agile engineering excellence, and a robust enterprise products and robust enterprise capabilities, all in support of helping build software to create business value. Now, we're a retailer, so this is a pretty odd position that we're in, but I would suggest that we're very similar to most of you. We've been in frustrating situations with our vendors over time. How many of you have struggled deploying a monolithic application while you've adopted engineering and DevOps and cloud principles in your organization? How many have faced long deployment and upgrade cycles, delaying the value delivery from your purchases? How many of you have fought with a vendor to get a feature on a roadmap that wasn't already there based on what you needed? How many of you have had to go through situations where you want to put your product in maintain mode, or maybe you're looking to get off the vendor, but you still have to make that maintenance payment to keep your licenses current or up to date? How many of you felt the pinch from a vendor who can't or doesn't want to keep up with the industry? Maybe who's been acquired, and now that piece of software that you're so reliant on is now going through a slow, painful death? Or finally, how many have been surprised when you think you bought a package and you get in your environment and you realize you really bought a bunch of products that are loosely held together based on some clunky integration model? Now at Target, we believe that you get value out of building software. And so we've been focused on building our solutions for a while now. What we found is we immediately got some agility and control. They allow you to step into the position of a business partner and to be able to create value for your business, and there's no better position to be in. They enable you to focus on integrating capabilities. If you think about today's cyber threat landscape, our ability to defend and protect our environments is at least loosely based on our ability for our tools to work seamlessly together. Think about ITDR and AI, for example. Those are enabled because of clean, consistent quality data coming together. And that's really, really important that you're able to do that. It's why we continue to see platform consolidation across the marketplace, and why you hear identity analysts talk about things like identity fabrics. It's the ability to integrate solutions that really matters. And a really interesting byproduct of all this is this idea about engineering satisfaction. We found that engineers, like anybody else, would much rather be creating value and seeing value than just turning dials and pulling levers. And that's why we've invested heavily over the last few years. Now, before anybody asks, what about SaaS? Let me try and address those challenges as well. If you think about the SaaS model, there are inherent benefits of SaaS. You tend to get features faster. You get them as they're released by the vendor. You don't have to wait for yourself to go through a long upgrade cycle. Depending on your cost model, all the costs are going to be operating expenses. So if you're capital constrained, it's a really great financial model for you. Now, for all those benefits, there's still challenges. Nothing's free in this world. We've already talked about roadmap, cost, and risk, and those challenges are not substantially different in a SaaS model. What are different is a couple new ones. One, I call this loss of expertise. There's this realization over time, if you're just working with a SaaS product, you're going to lose some of those core engineering skills that allow you to integrate that product, that platform, back into your environment. Again, that capability integration is key in today's model. There's a new shared responsibility model. You have to think about it from both an operations perspective and a risk perspective or security perspective. You have to understand your roles and responsibilities against your vendors. And then finally, at the end of the day, you're still dependent upon your vendor for features and fixes. What you need may not be readily available, and the amount of time it takes to get it for you is going to be a challenge. Now, for some, the benefits of the SaaS model do outweigh the challenges, and they're going to continue to go that route. Some vendors are forcing you to go that route by the way they license their products, and that's just the way it's going to be. Now, for us, though, we continue to see value in building software, but we realize it has its own challenges that I'm going to take a look at right now. Now, cost is usually the first challenge that gets raised. You're going to hear people say it's expensive. I'm not going to say it's any more expensive nor less expensive. The costs are just very different. Now, if you think about it, let's dive into the cost a little bit. Everybody should be familiar with hard and soft costs, right? Hard costs are represented by those dollars that go out the door. Very easy to track. You write the check, you make that payment, you watch the dollar walk out your door. Whether you're buying software or maintaining software, those costs are very, very straightforward, and they're very consistent for all of us. What's different is the soft costs. Soft costs are very intangible. They're harder to quantify, but they're really not insubstantial at all. If you think about the soft costs when you're buying software, think about things like the cost to your business, right? The things that you need, the business process you need your business to make to be able to adopt the software. Maybe to avoid a customization, but maybe that's just because that's the way that product works, so you're forcing your business to adopt to that model. Think about the cost of all the features in that product. Even if you're only using a subset, you're paying for all of them, right? Very rarely can you just pick the one or two features you want and pay for only those. So you're paying for a lot more than you're likely going to use or likely value. And then you're also paying for this cost of waiting. And I touched on this a minute ago, but it's this idea that when you're deploying software, right, you put a cash outlay out today, and it takes a long time to receive that value, right? At least through deployment and oftentimes through adoption. So the longer that cycle is, the longer it takes for you to get value. And that's really hard to swallow if you're making really, really big payments. Now, there's also soft costs when it comes to maintaining software over time. Think about the cost of customizations. Right? All those customizations you deployed during the deployment phase have to be tested and recertified, and maybe even updated during the upgrade cycle. So that may elongate that cycle time even longer. Now, when you're building software, there are similar hard and soft costs. Nothing's for free. You have similar costs. What I'm going to suggest is that it's really about maximizing the value of what you spend, and you do that by maximizing value of what you deliver. And that becomes really the heart of this part of the conversation. When you build your software, most of your costs are generally going to be represented as people, right? And this is a lever that we can all control. You can decide how many people you want, where they're located, what their roles are, how many products they're working on. This is a lever that you can control within the cost model. So it's something that you get to decide how expensive it becomes. When you think about the soft costs, though, this is where the equation gets even better. Because many of those soft costs start to either disappear or they get addressed if you focus on value delivery through prioritization. If you think about the cost of the business now, you're now focusing on what the business needs. So this is really an investment. If you're able to deliver what the business needs, you're going to be delivering value for the business, which is really, really great. And those opportunity costs and those costs of waiting are now a function also of prioritization. If you're always prioritizing the highest value items first, you always be delivering the most value. And that becomes really, really important in this equation. It doesn't change the cost, but it makes sure that you're getting value out of it at the end of the day. For all of us, as you think about it, value delivery is our rule, right? We want to minimize costs where we can, but it's not always about minimizing costs. It's about maximizing value delivery. And that's how you elevate from a cost center to a true business partner. Now, in my conversations, resources typically is the second most popular challenge that people raise. It takes a lot of people to be able to do this. People ask the size of my team, and they're often surprised at how big I say it is. But it's something we've been growing over time. We're going to look at resourcing from two angles right now. The first is from a pure team composition perspective, as I alluded to. It takes a team to be able to pull this off. Building your team is critical, but we all know how hard it is to hire people, right? When you limit your resource search based on a specific platform or specific product, it gets real hard. It gets even harder because the available resource pool is so small. Very simple example, I just pulled the most popular, some of the larger platform products out there, and you can see how many resources are available in the Washington, D.C. marketplace. When you're building software, you're able to look for software developers and software engineers, and the available resource pool increases significantly. And that becomes really important because you now have more people you can draw upon to be able to do that. And then once you find your resources, Now it's about developing them, about leveraging them to be able to deliver the solutions that you need. When you're developing your resources or looking for your resources, make sure you find people with a passion, that are passionate, that are problem solvers, that love innovation or love engineering. These are the resources that become the heart of your team. But when you couple them with a robust prioritization discipline, this is where you can really scale that team to be able to deliver a lot more value. It really is a function of being able to move people around based on where the priorities are in your organization. And that's a lever that you can pull all the time in terms of trying to find and deliver value. Now, the other side of resourcing considers the capabilities of the team and how you get the most out of them. After you find your team and you start developing them, now you want to augment their software development expertise with capabilities that allows them to deliver even more value for you. Using identity standards in open source, for example, allows you to jumpstart value delivery because you're not starting with an empty slate. I don't have to start from a blank piece of paper. I can start implementing some of those standards, some of those open source solutions, and get a jump start on that. And if you're able to leverage enterprise patterns and services within your environment, you can also cut a lot of the ancillary build time because things that would have needed to be built, you can leverage from your organization. So I'm, again, further advancing my thing. So now all I'm focusing on is the problem I'm trying to solve, not sort of the foundational groundwork that needed to be laid first. And then once you have that technology foundation in place, now it's about leveraging your team to be able to get the most out of them. Focus on empowering and relying on your product managers to make sure they get that prioritization right. Make sure that your engineers are focused on delivering the right things first. That's the key to success. Now at Target, we often talk about the value of prioritization as it relates to delivering value. And I'll offer that when you're always working on the best right stuff, you're always going to deliver the most value. Think about prioritizing in a silo. If you have multiple product teams and every team prioritizes independently, what's number 2 on one team's backlog may be number 17 overall in the organization. Wouldn't it be great if you could take the resources from that one team and move them on to something that has a higher value for the organization? That's the power of prioritization. When you have a team of software developers, I can move people around a lot easier because they have common skills that are transferable to different teams, and that's how, again, we deliver value. Now, another challenge we all talk about is legacy code and how we lose expertise over time. If you have a legacy environment, you've experienced this. Sometimes the legacy code becomes so bloated or archaic that it becomes hard, it becomes more rigid, it becomes hard to meet your business needs. I'll offer that most times replacing legacy software is often a driver for buying software in the first place. Right? That's how most people enter into the decision that they now need to buy software. But I'm going to suggest there's a way that you can address this from the outset. The key is to be intentional in your decisions today to reduce the rate at which your software becomes obsolete over time. And you do that by making sure that you're focusing on 4 key areas. First, you want to stay aligned to your organization. You want to resist the urge to go rogue and understand the impact of your decisions today and the long-term implications of them. That becomes really critical. Now at Target, we have a standardized set of patterns and models for deploying software and building software. And that allows us to make sure that our solutions work seamlessly across the organization, which is really, really powerful. We also have a robust enterprise shared service model, providing product teams with common services that don't need to be replicated and rebuilt 17 times. Right? Those things are maintained very, very well. So all of our energy now is focused on the product needs and the customer needs within the product space. That becomes really, really powerful. Now, the next thing you want to focus on, again, I touched on this before, is leveraging active open source. But I would also offer that even if you pick something that's active today but maybe goes stale over time, it's not necessarily the end of the world. If it fits within your environment and you're getting value out of it, keep using it. All it means is that over time, you're going to be taking on a little bit more responsibility to keep it maintained. But again, in an open source model, you kind of had that anyway. Nothing in this world is for free, so you were always going to have to maintain it at some point. You could never rely on the community for full support forever. And then finally, make sure you're designing for the future. Make sure, again, that you're leveraging modern cloud and dev principles to be able to develop and deliver solutions that are going to stand the test of time. Now, the last one is an interesting challenge because I've heard some identity people mention risk as a way to discredit building IAM platforms. You're going to hear them say it's risky. And I'm going to suggest that I don't know if it's any more risky than buying software. I think when you choose to build your own software solutions, what you're doing is you're more formally taking on the accountability for the risk that you already had, because accountability can never be transferred. Remember, it's your butt in a seat during an incident. Pointing at your vendor saying it's their fault may make you feel better, but it does nothing to change the situation for yourself, for your incident response team, or for your CISO. So it's really, really important that you understand the impact of risk as you enter this decision. Now, knowing this requires that you enter into the build decision with your eyes wide open. You're making sure that you understand that accountability that I mentioned before, and then you want to build your organizational capabilities to be able to address that risk. You really want to focus on building a security and risk culture. You want to enable your teams to be able to deliver secure software solutions. Now, at Target, we have a program called Security Ninjas, which are embedded product engineers in the product teams with specific security training and backing. They spend about 20% of their time focused on delivering product security within their product space, not just for their product, but for their team as well. So educating, testing, threat modeling, and the like. We have a robust BISO organization that also acts as a liaison between the product teams and the cybersecurity team, making sure the cyber team knows where the business is going and the business team knows where cyber is going. That relationship becomes very, very critical. And we also have a very, very robust product security team who's focused on delivering tools and capabilities to help product teams understand the proper way to prioritize security vulnerabilities and security findings. Not necessarily to make them the most important priority, to make sure they're appropriately prioritized, allowing the product teams to decide, I'm going to spend this much of my time on business priorities and this much of my time on these security needs that need to be addressed right now versus the other ones that can be made later. And that same product security team also provides a robust set of product security tools to help enable software development teams to deliver quality and secure software solutions. Think of these things as SAST and DAST, for example, approved repos as you think about software supply chain attacks, making sure that you're pulling software from approved places, mitigate some of those risks. It's really important that you have a robust set of capabilities here, because if you don't, you're potentially taking on some risk. Independent of building identity software or anything else, you're taking on risk of long-term if you don't have these types of capabilities. Now, the next one is an elevation of the pen testing model. Hopefully, everybody's doing pen tests right now. And if you are, I would encourage you to attack your pen tests more holistically. Think about them from a threat actor's perspective. If all you're testing for or against is the OWASP top 10, you probably are taking on risk over the long term, right? So begin thinking about pen testing in a more holistic pattern. And one way to do that is to leverage threat modeling. Again, challenge your design from a threat actor's perspective. How's a threat actor going to attack you? What are they going to be able to do if they're able to get through that defense? And then make sure you're implementing controls and capabilities along the way to be able to mitigate against those things. Now, I've heard some other challenges along the way. One is that building an IAM software is not our core competency. Probably true. I've heard that IAM software itself is a commodity. Kind of true. I've also heard people say that there's no value in building an IAM platform. But I'm here to say that I believe all three of those lack this idea of responsiveness, the ability to respond to your business. And I would suggest that being able to respond to your business quickly and with solutions that matter for your business does add value. And that's why at Target, we've been investing incrementally over the last 6 years to get to where we are. Now, we built a number of solutions over time and are seeing the benefits of the rapid agility that I talked about before and the rapid value creation. We're able to respond to our business in ways that we were never possible when you start dealing with packaged solutions. You're constrained by what the package provides. Maybe there's a lever you can pull or a dial you can turn to get what you need. But when you build software, you're in full control. Now, in order to do this, again, we've been doing it over the last 6 years or so. We've followed a classic people, process, technology approach. I've kind of alluded to it throughout the presentation today, but I'm going to try and tie it all together right now. If you think about our team, they are our secret sauce. When you couple that with a robust prioritization discipline, this is really the power to our engine. This is how we deliver the value that we set out to. Our culture is really core to our success. It keeps us grounded and moving forward in a consistent way. We all know what the objectives are. And finally, our technology model provides a robust foundation to build for the long term. And again, we're trying to avoid software going legacy. And so we've had the opportunity to leverage our architecture patterns to make sure that we've got a solution that we believe is going to stand the test of time. So as we leave the session today, think about where you are against these things, and let's see how you stack up. And I'm going to suggest if you want to take on this journey yourself, there's really 4 different things you should be thinking about. One of which I think you've probably already been doing all along. Now, the first one's sort of a self-assessment. You have to understand where you think you are against what I've been saying, and I suspect most of you have already been saying, yep, I do that, nope, I'm okay here, I don't do that one very well. You've already done a little bit of assessment, I suspect, already, and that's great. If you think you're close, you've got a shot. I would say keep trying, keep moving ahead. You don't have to go big. You can decide how fast you want to go here, but I think you've got a shot. Once you're able to go through that assessment, if you think you've got the core capabilities, that core culture and the core team that I mentioned before, then it really comes down to prioritization. How good are you at prioritizing? How good are you at saying, I'm going to work on this, but not that? How good are you at saying, this is more important than that? If you can have those conversations, it allows you to work smarter, not harder, which is always cool. Now, next, I'm going to challenge you to focus on building for the future. I want you to extend the life of your software, again, by those decisions you're making today, because you want to make sure you're going to build something that lasts for the long term, because this is something you're going to enter into, hopefully, for the long cycle. And then finally, culture is critical, not just in your IM team, but across your organization. More than quantity, which is one of those levers that you can pull in the cost decision, it's the quality of your team that's going to determine your ultimate success. So make sure you're building the culture that's going to stand the test of time. Now, all in all, this is a journey, and you have to go with your eyes wide open. At Target, we live by the motto, we're limited only by what we can dream and what we can prioritize, and that's pretty powerful, right? Think about the position that puts you in, and that's really, really what we've been trying to build for the last 6 years, and it makes us feel really good about what we've been able to do. Now, my goal was to inspire you today, and I hope I did that. Again, I'm going to offer this approach may not be for everybody. Some of you are saying, those guys are crazy. Why would they ever try and do this? That's okay. We believe that there is significant value in being able to stand up this type of model and execute against it. And that's why we've been investing here for the last 6 years or so. Doing so really allows us to move into that position of business partner, which is what we should all aspire to be in the first place. With that, my time is up. Thanks for listening today, and connect on LinkedIn and let me know how you're doing.